You're listening to Your Dental Marketing Department, your podcast source for dental marketing tips, strategies, and advice. Now here's your host, Jared Young.
Hi, I'm Jared with Your Dental Marketing Department, bringing this week's podcast to iTunes, the website, and to YouTube via our video cast. This is your dental marketing podcast for everything involving tips, strategies, techniques, ideas, product reviews, or about anything else. We try to keep it varied, keep interest level up, and come up with some good, valuable content in about a 20-minute podcast that you can listen to on your way to the office in the morning. So if you haven't seen the videocast version of this, you can find it on YouTube, or you can find it on our website, yourdentalmarketingdepartment.com or bigdiastema.com. And of course, you may already be listening to it on iTunes, but you can just search for Dental Marketing Department in the iTunes store, and you'll find our podcast. Please give us an honest review and pass it along if you find the content in these podcasts valuable. This week, we're going to be talking a little bit about golf and some correlations to an experience I had in the past week and how that can tie into your dental practice. But before I get to that, I'm going to talk a little bit about cool new stuff.
Wow, that's really cool.
This week's cool new stuff is Adroll. You can find it online, Adroll, adroll.com. And Adroll is a ad retargeting software. What it basically does is it follows your target from one website to another, and it kind of trails them around and showing ads of the same content or theme. So you place an ad, and that same person will see your ad on various websites that they visit. It's an interesting concept. There are some privacy issues involved with it. Some people don't like the fact that your ads could be following them around, but you also get your ad in front of your target market repetitively, which you normally can't do on the internet. If you're just doing Google ads and you're placing an ad, you don't know if that same person is going to see that ad 5 times, 1 time, no times, and they may only see it during Google searches if you're not using their display network. If you are marketing on their display network, then it should show on other websites that are hooked up to Google as well. But it's not really following their actions and following them around to different places on the internet. And that's what Adroll does. You can check it out. I believe they have a free trial online. You can see if it's something for you, something that you want to try doing. Try to get your ad in front of the same people over and over again. And that's at adroll.com. Last week, I was fortunate enough to caddy at a PGA event here in Oregon. We had the PGA Professional National Champions event. So these are PGA professionals. These are guys who might be the golf pro at your local golf shop, or they might be they might be the instructor down at the golf course. They might have various other jobs. It could be teaching at a university. There was about 312 people in the field. It's one of the largest tournaments. This is their national championship. Our total purse, I believe, was a little over $500,000. 77 people ended up making the cut. 77 or 78 people made the cut. So very small percentage of people made the cut. I got hooked up with it because the club that I am a member of was hosting the event, and they still needed some caddies, and I said, sure, I'll take a few days off and go do this. It should be fun. Well, not only did I get to caddy in the event, I got to caddy for one of the top tour pros in the tournament. We were tied for first place going into the last day, and the gentleman I caddied for was a wonderful man. He's the head teaching professional at Marion Golf Course, where they just had the U.S. Open. His name is Mark Sheftick. Amazing individual, genuinely kind-hearted person, and an amazing teacher, and also an amazing player. And I was fortunate enough to carry his bag through the unusual rain here in Central Oregon in June, and some warm temperatures as well. It was a lot of umbrella up, umbrella down, wipe the clubs off, put the rain pants on, take the rain pants off, rain jacket on, rain jacket off, umbrella back up, umbrella back down, change hats, that one's too wet, get new gloves out. It was a lot of weather challenges during our 4-day event. I learned that caddies work extremely hard. It was a 6-day event for me because there was 2 practice rounds and he made the cut, so there were 4 rounds total in competition. So I carried the bag on average for about 6-hour rounds for 6 days, and then also out on the range. I tended to be at the golf course for about 10 hours a day for 6 straight days. It was a lot of hard work, and it was an eye-opening experience. I know that I'll probably never be a PGA caddy, and I'm okay with that. I'll probably also never be a PGA player, and I'm okay with that as well. So I did learn some things. I learned some things that can be, I think, transferred and applied to our dental practices and how we market and grow our business in dentistry. A big one for me was that these guys have an amazing camaraderie. They work together even though they're competing against each other. They band together with their competitors in order to enjoy themselves a little bit more, but also in order to help each other out. There's a lot of encouragement. In the practice rounds, there's a lot of advice, there's a lot of help. In the tournament rounds, you're limited to some of the advice and help you can provide, but they are definitely supportive and encouraging of one another. And I see in dentistry so often, we all have dentists right down the street from us. We all have people who are technically competing with us. And a lot of times we might shake their hand and smile at them in public, but behind closed doors, we're not real excited to have that competitor right next door. We're going for the same patients, we're going for the same money, and we're trying to survive, support families, support staff, keep the office going, and also provide great services and care to our patients. In golf, they're trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to get a good payday to be able to provide for their family. They're trying to support their family. They're trying to stay in business. They're trying to play a good game. They're also trying to be supportive of one another. And there's a lot of genuine support there. And I think that that's what makes some of these top guys extremely successful, is they provide each other with a lot of support. And in doing so, I think they also benefit themselves. They start providing support. They're watching somebody else's game. They're watching what the other person's doing. They're studying it, and then they're providing tips and advice to one another on how to get better. If we did a little bit more of that in dentistry, we'd all be a little bit stronger. I know that it seems counterintuitive. If you make your competitor stronger, then you're going to by default weaken your own position, but that's typically not the way things actually work. There's a vast quantity of patients available in your area. And even if you're competing with the guy next door, there's probably more than enough patients for the two of you to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you had to. And the reality is you're not going for that. So these guys all have different strengths of their game. The player that I carried for, Mark, had an amazing drive. I don't know if he missed a fairway with his driver during the entire tournament. He was straight as an arrow, right down the middle, right where he wanted it to go every single time. A model of consistency. Also a very strong putter. He had distances down pat. He knew exactly how to get the ball to within a few inches of the hole on almost any putt, over any hill, any distance. And he knew those strengths, and he would try to play to those strengths. In dentistry, we need to be better at playing to our strengths and stop spending so much time on building up our weaknesses. I think a lot of times we try to be all things for all people. We try to provide the care that somebody might want, the care, let's say they want veneers, but you're not the most experienced person at veneers. You don't want to turn that patient away. You're going to go ahead and try those veneers. What's going to happen? You're either going to get real lucky and you're going to be perfect. That's one option. You're not going to get real lucky. You're going to do an okay job, but the patient's not going to notice. And hopefully nobody else will notice, and they'll last a long time, and by default, you've succeeded. Or you're not going to do a real good job, the patient's not going to be real happy, and the patient's going to complain. Now, on the flip side, if veneers is your bread and butter, if you love doing veneers, and that's your favorite thing to do, and a patient comes into you and says, I want to do some veneers, and you say, you bet, your odds of being in that successful category are very high. Mark, when he was playing off a tee, his odds of being successful with that drive were very high. If it was a hole that could have called for a 3-wood, a lot of times he would play his driver and do a little bit lower of a swing, maybe an 80% swing with his driver, because he was playing the odds. He knew he was more likely to be successful hitting that driver than he was his 3-wood off the tee. So he'd play the driver. You should be playing the odds. You should be playing to your successes and building on your strengths in your practice and really turn that into a specialty. And I know specialty is not a word you can use in most states. I'm using that as an internal word, but if you have something that you feel that you're special at, you have a special talent in doing veneers, you have a special talent in crown and bridge, you have a special talent in extractions, play to those, market those strengths. Don't worry about strengthening your weaknesses. Work more on your strengths. Become the absolute expert in your field at that strength. If you try to be above average at everything, you're liable to be below average at everything. If you try to be amazing at a few things, you have a great chance of succeeding. And not only that, you also have a great chance of getting referrals from other doctors to do that. If you're the veneer doctor and that's your bread and butter and you're amazing at veneers and other doctors around aren't, more likely, but you don't do other things. Let's say you don't do extractions very often. You're just cosmetic and you really want to do veneers. Well, the dentist down the street who loves doing extractions, as amazing as at extractions, may do an extraction on a back tooth and then send that patient over you to do veneers because he knows that you're not going to be doing the extraction that he wants to do. And it can work both ways. You have to be careful with the way you refer patients, obviously. Most states have referral laws. But you want the best care for your patient. And if the patient can get better care at one particular item from another doctor, you should not shy away from sending your patient from that doctor. And if you've built a rapport and you have a strong relationship and a good friendship with that doctor down the street, an encouraging relationship, you can trust that other doctor that if you send your extraction patient over, that doctor's going to do that extraction and send that patient back. In dentistry, we're so focused on our own little world, being the best at everything we can, get all the patients we can, do everything that we can, maximize everything. It's a very, very difficult thing to achieve. And that's why so many practices are mired in mediocrity. Not just mediocrity in the quality of work, but mediocrity in the number of patients, the amount of production, the amount of collections, and the reputation of the practice. And go on to Yelp sometime and just look up dentists in your area. There'll be a few dentists that'll have amazing reviews. They'll have 100 positive reviews. But by and large, most dentists end up being 3-4 stars, and they're mired in mediocrity. They're mired in that sense that they need to be great at everything, and therefore they're great at nothing. Spend more time developing relationships with the doctors around you. Spend more time focusing on your strengths, like these PGA players do, and you're going to be much more successful with it. The most successful players in this tournament were the ones who had very strong relationships, were genuinely good people, were trustworthy, encouraged one another, and the ones who definitely knew their strengths and weaknesses and played to the strengths. I think it's a great tip that we can take not only to dentistry, but I can take that to the marketing side. I can take that to my home life. You could take that to almost anything you do in life.
Hey kid, how about a tip?
Build strong, valuable relationships. Be honest with one another and encourage those around you. Play to your strengths. Minimize your weaknesses. Don't focus on your weaknesses. Don't try to build your weaknesses, but really try to build on your strengths. You'll be a much more successful individual and a much more successful dentist. Your practice will benefit as well. So this week, if you have a chance, go to your local networking meeting and develop some real relationships. Don't be afraid to shake the hand of the dentist who's in the same building as you. Find out what he finds to be his strengths. You'll probably find that it's not the same as yours. You'll probably find that maybe he's catering to extremely wealthy patients and you're catering to working class, or vice versa. Or maybe he caters to a certain, maybe he has a full Spanish-speaking staff and he caters to the Latino crowd, and you have a full German-speaking staff and you cater to the German crowd. You might find out that you can really complement one another rather than compete with one another. That's my awesome tip this week.
Wow, that's a great tip.
A little bit shorter podcast this week, but I had a great time. I'm just getting back into the swing of things after 6 days out walking the golf course, and I'm enjoying our hot weather here. So if your part of the country is hot today, please be safe. Make sure your pets stay safe and everybody stays cool and hydrated. We're trying to do our best here, and I appreciate the time that you spend listening to our podcast. And if you enjoy this podcast, I hope you refer it to others as well. This is Jared with Your Dental Marketing Department. Find us on iTunes. Dental Marketing Department is the keyword. You can find us at yourdentalmarketingdepartment.com, bigdiastema.com, or you can find the video cast of this on YouTube. Thank you very much. We'll catch you next week.